Hello, I'm Ollie, and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, horror, because it being Horror Mayhem, I've been reading horror all week. So, a few different books to talk to you about. I'll be honest, I don't feel like I've had a great reading week this week. I've read a few things. I think I've got 4 or 5 books to talk about. But none of the books I've finished have really wowed me. They've all been a bit, they've all been fine, but nothing that really stood out. And I did DNF a book this week as well, which is fairly rare for me. But I decided to take the advice I'd given in my Sunday Bollocks video last week and start being a bit more proactive about DNFing. So let me talk you through what I did read. So I finished Blight, which I think last week I was midway through. So Blight by Mark Sonders, a book about killer moths, which was it was daft. 1981, so typical early 80s creature feature type horror. There's a community, it gets attacked by killer creatures. Some people die, some people survive. There was absolutely nothing special about this book at all. It was pretty bland, to be honest with you. The fact that it had killer moths with fangs was quite entertaining in places, but overall it was a bit of a damp squib, to be honest. So after that, I read Chain Letter by Ruby Jean Jensen on my Kindle. So that was for Kelly Hooked on Books' From Hell book club. So it, like Blight, it's a kind of 80s American horror novel, and it was okay. So it's about some kids who find this part of a chain letter in an abandoned asylum, and it's a letter that says you need to pass it on to other people or terrible consequences will happen, but they've only got part of the letter, so they do that, and when it gets given to somebody else, inevitably awful things happen. It was a bit like Final Destination or something like that in that respect, in that it was kind of random tragedies that happen. So that kind of continues, and then they figure out that they need to go back to the asylum at the end of the book. This isn't really a spoiler. And there was a pretty fun twist at the end. But overall, it was fine. It felt a bit like a kind of Goosebumps book, but with more graphic content. So it was okay, but again, it didn't wow me at all. After that, I read This Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay, which is a book I've been wanting to read for ages. So this is set in, is it 1899 or 1900? I can't remember, around then, in Australia, and it's about a group of schoolgirls from a boarding school, which is like an English-style boarding school, who visit this place, Hanging Rock, in the outback in Australia for a picnic, and then 4 of them and a teacher go missing. And it's about kind of the impact on the community, and there's this big mystery around what's happened to the girls, and there's the sense that something unnatural has happened, but you never really find out. You never really find out what. So it's got that nice kind of air of the supernatural to it, which kind of nags at the back of your mind, but never really comes to the forefront. So it was an interesting read, and there's some great stuff in here about this kind of clash of cultures between this kind of frankly ridiculous premise of these, this boarding school that's trying to be very English, but is surrounded by a fairly rough part of Australia, to be honest with you. So all the locals are, completely different from the teachers and the girls at the school. And there's this, as I say, kind of culture clash going on between the two of them throughout the book, which is quite interesting. It was quite well handled. But again, it just didn't really set me on fire. It was fine. It was interesting, but it didn't grip me at all. After that, in a similar vein, I read, I can't remember what order I read these in, so let's talk about this one. So this is Scourge by Gary Fry, which actually I think I read last weekend, so I think I read it before Chain Letter and Picnic at Hanging Rock. So this is a novella that I got in one of the Abominable Book Club boxes as the like mystery book, and it was interesting, but it wasn't fantastic. So it's about this guy who was a university lecturer up north. I can't remember exactly where it was, in the north of England, in Yorkshire, who starts investigating these weird creatures called phalacnids, who are kind of mythical, folklore-y type creatures that have been written about in various old books, but nobody really believes exists. And obviously it turns out they do exist. So there was some good stuff about how he's trying to find out what's going on. There's various weird happenings that have happened that he thinks might be connected to these creatures. And he meets this journalist who's, kind of teams up with him a bit to try and figure out what's going on. And there was a nice backstory about his brother who died a few years previously of a drug overdose. So there was kind of that hanging over this character's actions, his guilt about his brother's demise. So it was quite interesting. But it ended up being a bit weird in that when you find out what's really going on at the end, it was like, whoa! It felt like it needed to be a lot more than novella. It kind of felt a bit sudden, the kind of reveal at the end. It read a lot like an episode of The X-Files. So if you like that kind of thing, you might well enjoy it. It was certainly entertaining, but yeah, again, not fantastic. Throughout the month, I have been reading throughout the week. So Moondance by S.P. Somtow, which I'm doing a buddy read of with MJ from Reading This Life. So I've now finished part 1. So MJ had got ahead of me. I've caught her up now. I'm really enjoying this. So I read this years ago and I listed it in my 30 horror books to read before you die list. So I'm very pleased that rereading it, I'm enjoying it just as much as I remembered it. It's really good. So it's a werewolf novel, clearly from the cover, that blends kind of Wild West stuff with stuff happening in Europe, with stuff happening in not quite the present day, but the late 20th century, and it just mixes it all together beautifully. It's really gripping. It's really graphic in an enjoyable, like meaningful way. It feels like there's a meaning to the sex and violence in this book. It serves a purpose rather than just being there for the sake of it. So yeah, really, really enjoying it, and no doubt we'll talk about this more in coming weeks. And then the book I DNF'd this week was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, which I was reading for Gothic Week in Horror Mayhem. I forgot to say, obviously, that this was for Gothic Week as well. This was for Supernatural Creatures Week, as was Blight. So yeah, this definitely had a Gothic feel to it in terms of that sense of the school and the governess at the school and things like that trying to cling on to a tradition in a land that just didn't suit it at all. It was quite an interesting take on the Gothic story. So also just read so anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Picture of Dorian Gray, I just didn't get on with at all. I got, I think, about a third of the way through, and there was a discussion of it on MJ's Discord, because various people were reading it there, again for Gothic Week of Horror Mayhem. And a lot of people seemed to think it got a lot better in the second half. But I just wasn't gripped by it at all, so I decided to DNF it, and I'm glad that I did. Maybe I'll go back to it one day, but it just felt to me like lots of people talking to each other and kind of being sophisticated and clever, and it wasn't what I was in the mood for. So after that, I read The Elementals by Michael McDowell, also on my Kindle, which was a lot of fun. So I think it was published a couple of years before, 2 or 3 years before Blackwater, his kind of 6-volume book, which I've talked about on the channel before. And in a lot of ways, it felt like a trial run for Blackwater. So it's similar in that it's kind of a Southern Gothic with kind of supernatural and creaturey elements to it. It was very strange at times, very kind of grotesque, quite graphic. It's about this strange, wealthy Southern family who are all a bit bizarre, who come together having been apart for a while because the mother of the family has died. And there's these houses that they own, and there's one amongst the house which they refer to as the third house, which they don't own but which is derelict, which they believe to be haunted in some way. And it's just a load of different stuff kind of thrown into the mixing pot and mixed together. And it was good, it was fun. The ending is like the last 25% or so, it's just fantastically weird and very enjoyable. I felt like it wasn't as successful for me as Blackwater, and I think the reason for that is the thing he does beautifully in Blackwater is characters. The characters in Blackwater are just fantastic, and in this book it felt like there was the potential for the characters to be good. They all have really interesting idiosyncrasies and strange things about them, but they never had enough time to develop. So it's only it's like 250 pages or something like that, and I felt like you just didn't have enough room to maneuver with the characters and build them up so that you really cared about them in the same way that I cared about the characters in Blackwater. So it was good, but again, not fantastic. So I've literally just finished that. I'm thinking about what to read next. I've just been getting books out of my TBR box to talk about, and the books I've read as well to show in this. And I'd forgotten that I also said I was going to read The Wasp Factory by Iain Banks for Gothic Week, and I think I might try and squeeze this in this weekend. It's less than 200 pages. I loved it when I read it as a teenager. I haven't read it since. I don't think I've read it since anyway. So I really, really want to reread this. So I think I'm going to read this next and squeeze it into the tail end of Gothic Week. And then after that, it's Cosmic Horror Week. So I have this big Lovecraft Cthulhu Mythos tome. So I'm only going to read one story out of this, which is The Colour Out of Space, which I have read before, but not for a very, very long time. I'm also going to read, not in this volume, The Horror at Red Hook by Lovecraft, because that apparently was kind of the story that inspired one of the other things I'm going to be reading for Cosmic Horror Week. And the other things I'm reading are these 4 novellas from Tor, which are The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Lavalle, which apparently is the one that's kind of, I think, a response to The Horror at Red Hook. So, Lovecraft clearly having been a horrible old racist bastard. I think this collection from Tor is quite interesting because it's modern authors, and I think particularly authors of colour, responding to that. So picking up the mantle of cosmic horror, which Lovecraft is rightly praised for having created as a subgenre, but also addressing the less savoury aspects of Lovecraft as a writer. So The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Lavalle, The Dream Quest of Vellitt Bow, which is by Kij Johnson. Hammers on Bone by Cassandra Khaw, who also wrote Nothing But Blackened Teeth, which I really enjoyed. And Agents of Dreamland by, I'm going to take my gloss off, Caitlin R. Kiernan. I've read Cassandra Khaw before, but not any of the others. So really looking forward to those and seeing how they differ from Lovecraft. The other thing I think I'm going to read this week, if I have time, and I think I will do, given that the 2 Lovecrafts are just short stories and those 4 are novellas, is this, which I haven't featured in a haul video yet because I haven't done one since it's arrived, but I'm really excited about this. So this is Liarmouth by John Waters. So if you don't know John Waters, he is a fantastically weird film director who has made a number of appalling, and when I say appalling, I mean deliberately appalling, not bad, but films that will appall you, films that are designed to shock and disgust. Made a number of such films over the years. I'm a big fan of his stuff. This is his first novel, and it looks very, very entertaining indeed. It's supposed to be very amusing and quite disgusting. He's probably most famous. So people may know him for some of the stuff he made more recently, so things like in the kind of late 80s, early 90s, Hairspray and Crybaby and Serial Mom. He will probably go down in history for his first film, Pink Flamingos, which is absolutely disgusting. I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but I did watch an uncensored copy of it on YouTube a couple of years ago, and it really is foul. It's most famous for the end scene, which features Divine. And if you don't know Divine was sadly died a good few years ago now. Was a very large transvestite. It ends with Divine eating dog shit for real on camera. You see the dog produce, and then Divine eats the production, as it were. A truly disgusting film, but in many ways quite an important and influential film. And anyone who knows me knows I love trash, and John Waters is known as the Pope of Trash. So yeah, very much looking forward to Liarmouth. Right, I'm going to take a very quick break here, and then when we come back, I will talk about stuff that's happening on the channel in the week just gone and in the week coming up, with a very exciting pre-announcement for something that's happening on Monday. So, what's happened in the last week on the channel? So, I had my review of Horror Store by Grady Hendrix go up so it was one of my reads for week 1 of Horror Mayhem. I did the, not exactly a tag, but I did the things that are making me cheerful, like response video to the video that Gina Stania did. I did a library tour of science fiction and fantasy books, which you might find interesting if you like that kind of thing. And then my Sunday Bollocks was, as I said, about DNFing. It was at DNF.mf. And I don't think I did a video on Monday. Did I do a video on Monday? I don't know. I get lost. Oh, I did. I think I did my Abominable Book Club unboxing video on Monday. So, what's coming in the week ahead? So, exciting times. On Monday, we have, well, firstly, I'm doing Sunday Bollocks before. I've got an idea of what it might be. And if it's the thing I think it might be, it's going to feature a physical challenge for people to undertake. That'll be tomorrow. On Monday, I'm doing an announcement video for Garb August. So, I don't know if you're supposed to pre-announce announcement videos. I'm getting a bit carried away with Garb August, I think. But yes, there will be a number of announcement videos from various booktubers for Garb August. I had great fun filming my video for it this morning. It is the most technically complicated video I've ever done. Be warned, it features me acting, which is not something anyone should ever have to see. It also features my legs. So it features proof that I am not just a, not just a head and a pair of hands like the boss in a Nintendo game. I do actually have a body and legs, and you get to see my legs. I'm wearing shorts today, so you get to see real bare legs, which may well put many people off watching the video. So yeah, so that's happening on Monday. On Tuesday, I will do a tag video. I'm not sure what I will do yet. On Wednesday, I think I'm going to get a random box or random bag of books. So not a themed box, but I've got a few random bags of books in the attic. So I'll get one of those down for a library tour. On Thursday, I will do a review video. Not sure what it's going to be of yet. I might review The Wasp Factory, actually, if I do finish this or do read this. If not, I've got a review of The MD by Thomas M. Dish, which I have filmed. So if not, that will go up. And then Friday, I don't know, I might have Friday off. Or I might do something. We shall see. So anyway, that's that's what the week ahead looks like. Do watch out for the Garb August announcement videos on Monday from me and the other hosts, some of whom you may have figured out who some of the other hosts are, but I bet you haven't figured out who they all are. We have many hosts for it, and they are all wonderful, wonderful booktubers. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the announcement videos landing and to the event in August. So yeah, that's it from me for today. As always, I hope you're safe and well. Let me know if you've read any of the books I've talked about. Let me know if you like John Waters. I think Kim Newman said something like, so Kim Newman's a film critic as well as an author for Anna Dracula and the subsequent books in that series. So he said about John Waters, and I do like this quote, everybody should watch one John Waters film. Whether you want to watch more than one is a matter of your own bad taste. So yeah, if you like John Waters, do let me know. And two final things I wanted to say. So firstly is I have set up a bookshop. So if you don't know what Bookshop is, it's a website that allows small independent bookshops to sell online to anyone, to people who want to buy books online. So it kind of aggregates all of the listings and things like that for small bookshops. And as a creator, you can set up your own page on Bookshop where you feature books that you've talked about on your channel or your Instagram or whatever. So I have set up a bookshop. There will be a link to it in the description for this video and in subsequent videos I do, and I've got a number of different shelves on there. So I've got a suggestions for Garb August shelf. I've got a shelf of all the books I've reviewed on the channel and things like that. So and I will do various other shelves, favourite books and things like that. So if that sounds interesting to you, do have a look. The benefit for you is you get some curated lists from me of books you might like if you like the same kind of books as me. The benefit for me is if you buy a book from Bookshop, having followed one of my links, as an affiliate, I get 10% of the proceeds, which is very nice. You don't pay any more for the book, but I get a bit of money back. So if there are books there you fancy and you fancy buying them, then that will be very much appreciated if you use one of my links. And the other thing, finally, that I wanted to say is I have finally caught up on my comments. So thank you, everybody who's been patient. I've been woefully behind on my comments. I don't think I've ever been as behind as I was over the last week or so. So apologies that it's taken me so long. I think I've replied to everything now. If I haven't, if you've left a comment and I haven't replied it, I do apologise. It's obviously fallen down the side of the sofa of YouTube, because all the ones on my list have been replied to. So yeah, sorry about that. I will try to keep more on top of them going forward. Finally, so it's Saturday, the 14th of May. So it's Eurovision Day. So anyone in the UK or Europe or Australia, I guess, will know what Eurovision is, and hopefully will be looking forward to watching it tonight. People in the US and Canada may be scratching their heads going, what's he going on about? So it's an annual singing or song competition across Europe. Australia and Israel also take part, which is wonderfully over the top and camp and always a joy to watch. So yeah, very much looking forward to watching that on TV tonight. It's a long old slog. I think it's 4 hours long, but it is very much part of our family, calendar of the year, watching Eurovision. So yeah, looking forward to that. So again, if you're going to watch Eurovision, chuck a comment and let me know. We can virtually enjoy it together. I don't know if we can or not, but you know what I mean. Anyway, as always, hope you're safe and well. Hope you're really good stuff, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.